see.
Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Welcome back. Welcome back to oh darn it. My allergies are acting up. But hello, this is Anne. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and disembodied voice John, who I have to put in my ear or he'll be echoing from beyond the grave. So let's do that. Hi everybody, thank you for the resub cubes. It's a day. Taffy, I guess sugar is a sub for caffeine. Sorry for the late cancel yesterday, guys. I was just worried that I was being a dummy and I didn't want to hurt myself. So I had my doctor's appointment for my back yesterday. So I just decided to just not sit in this chair because I had been in it a lot previously, the previous day, and it had really kind of screwed me up. The moral of the story seems to be that I need to switch things up. But yeah, good, Twisted Oma. She did some palpations and she did some joint manipulation just to check on, what I was, and pretty much told me that my back was just essentially really tired and, I still needed to take it easier than I had been, and that was just giving me residual, secondary spasms, pretty much. So I just need rest. She did recommend ice, but there's nothing, seriously wrong with me. I'm not going to wake up, with a serious issue, which is, I was worried. So I was like, sometimes you just have to go to the doctor to have them tell you, no, you are not significantly, you're not wrecking your back totally. It is just, it's had damage and it's tired and you need to treat it better. So yeah. So that's good because I was just worried. I was getting tinglies in my toes and crap. And, you get that paranoid stuff. And then you never, ever, ever want to go on the internet and ask them, what it's all about or do research on the internet because it'll tell you you'll wake up paralyzed tomorrow or something stupid like that, right? Not what it told me, but still, it's a bad source of information. So, yes, John is here. Right, no slip discs. That's what I was really worried about. Twisted Oma is that because I do know I have cartilage damage. I have spinal degeneration. I've confirmed that before. If it keeps acting up, then we'll probably get a new set of X-rays and maybe even an MRI. But it really depends. Hey there, Jelly. I'm an am, not an Ann. Yeah, exactly. Cool pack, right? So I worry whenever I get a new symptom. I worry, and it's always, in my opinion, better to go to the doctor and get the answer. I learned that a long time ago. I used to be a doctor avoider, where I was just scared to go to the doctor because you're scared of what they're going to tell you. Multiple surgeries cured me of that. They also cured me of my fear of the dentist. Now, I don't care what the dentist does. It's nothing next to what I've been through. It's do your worst. So yeah. No, you never want to do that. Good morning, Chibi. I'm going to do a quick nose blow here. My allergies are acted up. Whenever we have a bit of rain, 2 days later, like clockwork. So yeah. So sorry for the slight late start, guys. We have a plumber in the house because we had plumbing issues. So we all had to run around and mask up, and he knocked on the door 2 minutes before stream. So I was like, ah! Oh yeah, spinal fusion. Yeah, I mean, people like Gus at Reaper, and I know other people who've had fusions. I really don't want to go that route. Like, your back is meant to be flexible, and so I really, really, really don't want a fusion. My dad got one. Like, so that should be the cautionary tale for my whole family, because everybody now has back problems. Me, my brother, my mom. Right. Well, it's not just aging though, right? Cool Pack. Like, I abused my back a lot, like in the paint department, like 15 years of lifting 50-pound paint tubs. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just going to mean your aging is going to, accelerate a little bit, because you're putting a lot of wear and tear on your back, even if you're lifting smartly. So yeah, the warranty just runs out. But now I'm trying to be much better. Hey, McBoy, 4 months. It's a little sub. Thank you. Welcome. I hope we're instructive. I hope that you're enjoying the show. Yeah. Oh, if you're in a band and you have to lift all that heavy band equipment for every show, if you're doing multiple shows a week, yeah, it adds up, right? Yes. Thank you for the resub, as Reaper John says. But yeah, so I'm feeling a bit better. The ice helped, and I should have thought of ice before. I don't know why I don't. Like, it's just like, you always feel like your back is like a more complex thing. It's not like icing, like, if you get like a bruise or something where you put ice on something to bring a lump down, but it does help with inflammation. So I should have been smarter. Moral of the story though, all you mini painters who are still younger and luckier, is take care of your back, stretch often. Don't sit here doing this, Igor, forever, right? Right. Yeah, you never like to go to the doctor because you don't want to feel like a hypochondriac, which is what I told the doc. It's just like, I just, but I also want to make sure I'm not being a dummy. a dummy. Everybody knows. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. It's just, I wonder about it at length, I don't know. I just don't want to be a cyborg any sooner than I have to be. I mean, when the cyborg parts are not, I would like to give it another decade so the cyborg parts get even better. Eventually our cyborg parts will be just as good as our real parts. Good morning. Morning, Dragon. How's it going? We are working on something pink, so you are timely. So let's get this chica in the frame. Let's get her focused. Focus. Yay, there we go. Oh, yuck. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, Chibi, that's terrible. It feels like you grew 2 inches every time. So you'll be 6'8" in no time. Yeah, one day we'll be able to 3D print our own parts and paint them and install them at home. Right, exactly. Alrighty, cool. Let's do some minis. Let's see. So I'm ready to do everything, but I think I'm going to highlight and shade the cloth today, and then we'll recant on the NMM, guys, is what I'm thinking. We did the hair last time. There's our baby. Sit, stay. There we go. Yeah, the shirt cloth turned out great. I'm very happy with it. But now we're gonna talk a little bit about, we'll use Reaper paints to Cool Pack gets cool points. Oh, that's already changing the hobby, John David. It's already changing the hobby. But the thing is, it's like, you're never going to be able to, like, or okay, if you can, maybe in the far distant future, but I don't see it in the next 20 years, where pre-coloration is as good as somebody really putting paint on a mini. Like, the computers can do so much, and I'm sure there will be 3D printed miniatures in color that look good, but it's still not the same. And the painting hobby isn't going anywhere. I mean, if anything, the 3D printing hobby is just going to empower the painting hobby with even more awesome miniatures, because it's happening already, right? Where there are guys with Patreons and online stores where they're doing their sculpts and they're fantastic. And we're all buying them, or we're buying them to print ourselves, or we're buying them through a secondary, right? So, yep. And John is on it. Ed has seen this coming for years. Like, I remember being at Gen Con, or was it even? Yeah, I think it was. Or maybe it was Adepticon, like 3 years ago. And Reaper Brian and I were talking about it then, and he was talking about Ed had been watching it very closely. So Reaper is very cognizant of trends in the industry and like how to Reaper them, how to not let things jump us, right? Ed is really smart about the industry. I would put Ed up against pretty much anybody in the industry as far as being able to keep an eye on the way the wind is blowing and react to it well. Right, exactly. And it's not revolutionized in a bad way. Like it's not like a Reaper has never had the scarcity mindset. Okay, guys. So the scarcity mindset is, oh my gosh, if there's other people to buy stuff from, there isn't enough money for all of us. In reality, that's not the case. There is enough money for all of us. So, it's like if you don't feel threatened by the people who are, you know, yeah, it's options and competition. It's great for the hobby. So I don't think it's I don't think it's a sad thing. Is what it's not. Sadly, this will revolutionize the hobby. It's actually coolly. This is revolutionizing the hobby. It's going to continue to do so. But for us painters, it's just awesome because we just get more awesome to paint. So. And the more people get into this, I mean, this is something that Ed knew a long time ago. Like when he used to bring in people, when somebody wanted to start a new miniatures company, they'd come to Reaper and Ed would train them. Ed would talk to them about the biz. He would show them the operation. Like, and he did that because he knew that more people in the hobby is just more gateways to get more people into the hobby. It's not this person's going to take our money down the road, you know? It's just a different mindset. Right. 3D printing, Crowley. Yeah, 17 months otter. Woohoo! So yeah, so well, it yes and no, John David. It depends on, it depends on a lot of things. I mean, yeah, you could print your mini at home. Is it as high quality? It still takes time, right? Like, when the technology gets up there and you can print a really high quality resin print in an hour or less, but then you still are looking at the sculpts, right? You're still like, oh, I really like this new sculpt from Reaper. I'm going to buy it from Reaper because Bones models are still cheap. Like, and the thing is, you still have to pay for that sculpt, John David speaks. And all those sculptors out there with their Patreons and everything are cognizant of how much time they're putting into those. Because sculpting is still a slower process, especially sculpting something really complicated. And that's still dependent on people, right? At this point, for the most part. So you can print it for 14 cents after you pay for the STL file, which, is that going to cost you as much as a miniature? Is it going to cost you more? What's it going to pay? Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows what's shaking out at this point. So, hey, Corey Noob. Right, like right now, 3D printer putting something on and expecting the environment to, like, I have to walk past this thing and not bump it because we have a really small apartment and I have to spend 8 hours printing something. Some people don't care. They just got it in their basement or off in their garage or wherever and they hit the button and they walk away. Earthquakes make that, also dicey here. Yeah. No, it's not. I mean, and some people are faster because they really get a thing going on. Let me get my pure white. Where's my pure white? Oh, I ate it, apparently. So we will actually talk about the cloth, by the way, after we're done with this. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you look at John, and then if we got Christina Van Patten on, and she showed you what she was doing, she's fast. She's like freaking lightning. Now, she would probably tell you, though, that the quality of her work increases if she can take more time. Like, that's true of almost anybody. Morning, Val. Hey, I'm improved, Val. I'm not new, good as new, but I'm improved. I don't have a printer. Reaper has several. But that's why I haven't bought one, Jelly, is kind of what I'm getting at here, is that it's really slow. It takes a lot of time. And I also think the technology isn't where I'd want it to be. Like, I want something with a super easy interface that's going to print at super high quality. And then I have to figure out the prep stuff, right? Like after you print, you have to clean the model, like clean the structures and everything, right? So there's all that work. So what it comes down to me is, at this point, 3D printing is too much work for me. Too expensive, too much work, too much time. Because time is like... And we don't have the space. So it's got to change for me to be very interested in it. It's not there yet. It will be. I know it will be, but right now, not so much. So I'm mixing up some transitions of tropical blue because I want to do her cloth. I'll talk about this in a second here. Let me just make sure I'm... Yeah, exactly, Outer Mama. Yeah, dialing in and things and... So yeah. It's not plug and play yet, right? When it's plug and play, I'm there. Because there are 3D prints I would certainly love. But you know what? Right now, I'm also somebody, guys, who feels good about supporting my favorite sculptors, painters, manufacturers, right? So, for me, I am okay going to a person who has a 3D printer and is willing to put in the time and has the expertise to clean everything, you know, and paying them money to do it. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I can support them. They're, you know, that's a relatively new thing in this hobby, is the secondary person who's like, you know what, I didn't sculpt this, but you know, I have a printer and I have time to clean them and, you know, and I can do a good job. And so I'll just sell you my service, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a gearhead hobby right now. Right, D. Clearman. And good, Val. Excellent. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I like my paint a little thinner because I like to not have to work with it as much to get it to the point where I can blend with it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is. Yeah, exactly, John David. Yeah, see, that's kind of the point too. Is like it's not an easy answer. It's not an easy question, and it's never just one thing, right? Like we might think 3D printing is awesome and really go in for it, but at the same time, we still want to support our favorite sculptors, printers, and miniature companies. So, I just think that I think that companies like Reaper still have a large advantage because for the sculptor who doesn't, it's kind of like publishing, actually, now that I think about it. I always draw parallels between writing and painting, but this is between game companies and publishing. So if you just want to write and you don't want to have to sell your book, edit your book, print your book, arrange for storage, blah, 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 then you try to get a traditional publisher. And if you aren't afraid of all that work and you really are excited about it, then maybe you go independent publishing and you do your own advertising, your own layout, your own everything. But so for miniature sculptors who just want to be able to sculpt and not have to worry about the marketing and, you know, printing, selling, everything of their miniatures companies are still a great answer. It's like how our Reaper sculptors, like a lot of them have their pet projects and they don't want to do their own Kickstarter because they know how much time and effort and pain in the butt it is, right? They've watched Reaper do it. So instead, they get a level, the Jason Wiebe level, the Bobby Jackson level, on our Kickstarter, and they pretty much do whatever they want and do it that way, and Reaper is happy to do that. So I think that as long as miniatures companies maintain a good relationship with their sculptors, and their sculptors are happy with the arrangement they have with the company, you will still see miniatures companies, and they will still have a good edge because these people that are sculpting for them are people who are real pros and really, really good at it, right? They're as good as the other people doing stuff. They just don't want to do all the infrastructure. So I still think that in the miniatures business in the future, you are going to still see both. You're going to see the really, you know, get out and get it, you know, hot dogging young 3D sculptors who really want to run everything themselves and have their own company. And then you're going to see the sculptors who really just want to sculpt and not have all the headache. Yeah, but we don't have really good ventilation here. I like Coolpack don't really have it yet. Like I was asking questions before. I've asked, I always ask about 3D printers periodically to see where the tech is. You know, just to see. But right now, I mean, David and I'll probably cave at some point, but I don't think, we just don't have a good room for it. Like our office, this serves as our dual at-home office and at-home painting room and gaming room. And there's like no room and it's very small and it's not got great ventilation. So resin printer for me is just not, that's the only kind I'd want. And it's just not in it for me right now. But yeah, I get you. They are getting better. Like I always ask questions. I always like to know where the tech is at. So guys, as I was saying, let's actually talk about painting. I know it's terrible. It's terrible to have to actually talk about painting. So, usually when I would shade stuff, I would not use a darker version of the same color. Right, exactly, Max Styles. That's another excellent point. Again, if you don't want the work of actually owning your own business, then you want to probably be a sculptor for a company that's going to take care of that stuff for you. So yeah, it's two different things. Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. That's a plan. Although I started running or I'm about to start running our new breeder training program for our dog club. Excited about that. So I'm already have a dog thing going on. It's just online. Google Classroom for the win. Although it was really funny, guys. Okay, I have to share this. One more thing before I talk about shadows and why I don't use darker versions of the same color for shadows on this. So, yesterday at my doctor appointment, I ended up giving my doctor dog advice. Was funny as blazes. They have a young golden retriever that has a small medical problem and and leaving the dog intact or not. And yeah, so I ended up giving my doctor, like after she gave me back advice, I gave her dog advice. They're a new dog owner. She's never had a dog before. Right, cool Peck. That's the problem. Well, and you know what? It's just another version of the old issue with that I see a lot of gamers go through, which is they love to assemble, but then they stall out on painting because they like to assemble more than they like to paint. And I think 3D printing plays to that same thing because you're printing the model and then you've got to clean it, you got to get all the little, thingies off, and so yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, I can network anywhere. All right, Chibi. So yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, but that's not a bad thing. Like, slowing down in your life is not a bad thing. The smell the flowers thingy. Yeah, exactly. It's actually why I really used to like bonsai. I haven't gotten a new bonsai since I've been out here, which is kind of a shame because in Texas, they just died because of the heat. The summer, they just wouldn't make it. Except for the scrubbiest ones, and even they eventually gave up. But out here, I'm in a perfect climate for like Japanese maples and stuff, and I still haven't gotten a new bonsai tree. So, but bonsai was a great hobby for slowing down. You really can't rush a tree. Just like, what's his name in the Mossbeard in the Lord of the Rings says, trees are slow. So that was a good one for slowing down as well. Yeah, you outbuy what you can paint, you outbuild what you can paint, you outprint what you can paint, because it's much faster to do those things than it is to stop and paint the model. Yeah, exactly. I like to buy a young tree and then watch it grow. That's my favorite thing. I don't like to do them from seed because it's really hard and you never know what tree. One, it's hard to breed them from seed. It's hard to get them to propagate in the first place as a tree. And secondly, it's just better to start with something you can see the shape of already. So there is a nursery around here that does do bonsai young stock. So there's a great, I'm going to miss Sunshine. Sunshine Miniature Trees in Dallas was fantastic. I don't think yeah, they've tried from seed, and some breeds are far easier than others, but yeah, that's why I'm kind of pruning down my model collection again, is that I want to be able to like look at it and seriously see where I could make progress. Okay, so let's actually talk about the shadows. Because otherwise I'm going to start talking bonsai, and I love bonsai trees. Oh, yep. So close. And then somebody forgot to water it one day. When they're little, when they're tiny, they're so sensitive when they're seeds. So that's why I like to start with a young tree. It's a little more forgiving. Oh dear. Don't get me on that, man. I could recommend some really books that will have pretty bonsai in them that will make you want to do bonsai. But anyway, so, okay. Normally, when I do shadows, you guys know, I normally gray them out a little bit. Like, I'll mix a little bit of walnut brown into them or something like that. I won't just use a dark blue to shade a light blue, or a dark green to shade a light green, or a dark purple. I might use a purple to shade a pink. It really depends on if I can mute it down a bit. But there really is a hobby for everything. Yeah, I love baby trees. What can I say? I used to have a ton of them, Kagero, in Texas, like for a while before I gave up, before the summer defeated me. I had a ton. I had like 9 different types of bonsai. The pomegranate, the dwarf pomegranate was my favorite, actually. And I love Japanese maples. I had a purple lace leaf maple. But, so, if you have cloth that is meant to be portrayed as really translucent, like if these are filmy, gauzy scarves, which they probably are because Belly Dancer and already has translucent cloth, right? In that case, if you are going for that filmy, gauzy, kind of translucent appearance, the only way really that you can do it is to keep your shadows pretty saturated. Because if you look at a scarf that's really see-through, like hanging in the light, say you're at a Renaissance fair or a belly dancing convention, any of these things would be fun. You should go. You're going to notice that the fact that light is moving through the cloth means that the shadows are not desaturated. You get a desaturated or grayed out shadow when light is blocked, but as long as light can move through the cloth, and you can see the colors. So if I want to suggest that this cloth is more sheer and that there's light passing through it, I don't want to desaturate my shadows. If I desaturate and go like really dark in a different color or grayed out, it's going to imply that this cloth is heavier, and we know that it's not. So that's why you both, for a lot of things, for most models, you would desaturate your shadows. You do want to take them darker or grayer or both. But with this, because of the translucency, you don't want to go there. So for this model, we will actually be shading with just darker versions of these colors. And darker versions here, I may go with Runic Purple because it's still pretty saturated, but I want to keep it pretty saturated and pretty close to this. I mean, color changing cloth's real easy. You start with one color and you highlight it with another color. Ta-da! It's really that easy. It's really not hard. But the thing with that is that you have to treat it like NMM chibi, because it's underwoven cloth is almost always shiny. If it's that matte color shift, then it's just weird looking. But you can do it. Time Buster, not too many times. We did the skin, then we did the translucency. We blocked in all the colors. We did her hair. So maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours. Not counting all the time that we sit and talk about Japanese maples and doctor's appointments and how we should all have better backs. But, so not too bad. She's such a simple figure. Even if I do like a bang up job on her where she's really awesome, it's not going to take me nearly as long as a more complicated figure. So every veil you make, every smile you fake. Well, but I don't paint her every day, Time Buster. She's been in the rotation for a couple months, I think. But she only gets worked on like once a week at most, and sometimes she gets flipped into the next week. Yeah, so I think I switched up my painting thing, I'm gonna say about 2 months ago. Not even, maybe. Because I'm trying to remember when I started some of those guys up there and how many sessions. I think that some of those, like 6 sessions, I think, which would mean about a month and a half. So she hasn't been around as long as you think. Yeah, but that's my guess. I mean, right now. And I'm not very efficient on these shows because I do stop and chat with people a lot. So, and often when I'm chatting, I forget to paint. Yeah, she's looking good. She's getting there. So as I was just saying, we're not going to do a really muted or grayed out highlight. We're going to keep these cloth bits all very brilliant, which means that we're going to use Tianzia Jade probably for our shadow for the Phantom Glow. Ta-da! Because Tianzia, when you want something to stay bright, transparency is your friend. Tianzia does not cover worth anything, but it is a great brightener and shader and mixing color. So for this, where I want these to stay really brilliant, then I'm going to work with it. I'm going to mix up a bunch of colors. But you can see I'm essentially making triads here. I just mixed in a little bit of white and then a lot of white to make a triad based around tropical blue, which is a bones color, which do not come in triads. But I want to have everything kind of laid out so that I can work on it all at once. I'm going to make a shadow with my Tianzia. which is such a pretty color. It's maybe a little green for what we want, but I don't mind that. Yeah, she's almost done. I mean, this model, maybe another session or two. We have to do, if we get all this cloth done today, then we have to do the NMM gold, and I need to do her eyes because they're barely open, and we need to do basing. So if we decide we're going to do basing, because right now she's just on like sand, I think. She isn't on anything else. So we may do just a simple base on her, since I've been doing more complicated stuff on other models. Gonna thin all of these colors down at least 2:1. Paint to water. Gonna work on the greens and the blues. Oh my, and the pinks. Oh, nice. Yeah. Anything can become a bonsai, although you get difficult when you hit like redwood tree. But even then, people have tried it. Oh wow, neat, Twisted Oma. That's really cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, bonsai is a hobby I've always wanted to take up seriously. I like the fact that you can't rush it, and I also like tiny trees. I like trees in general, but tiny trees are cute. So that's pretty cool. Well, if I ever come to where you are, Twisted Oma, I'll have to visit your backyard then. Because I would totally geek out. I would bonsai geek out. And I'm going to mix a little bit of our Phantom Glow actually into the Tianzia Jade, which is going to pull it a little closer together with that color. It's also going to give it a little bit of coverage. It's not a terrible thing. So let's show you guys. So I've essentially mixed a little bit of this into that, and then I also have a highlight color up there. So there's my triad for here. If your shadow color is very transparent, it can be quite a bit darker than your midtone, and you're still going to be fine. Oh, the Reaper Sealer. Reaper Brush on Sealer War Shadow. If you use it straight out of the bottle, it's kind of like an eggshell. If you don't shake it at all, you're going to get a satin. If you do shake it well, it's more like an eggshell. It has a little bit of life to it, a little bit more life than the paint. But if you just thin it like just a tiny bit, just like a drop of water per 4 or 5 drops of sealer, it'll go matte. So it's variable. I do not recommend using it straight out of the bottle without shaking it, because eventually you're going to reduce the base amount in relation to the matting agent, and you'll end up getting frosting. But yeah. So essentially, if you want a matte finish out of our sealer, or rather the finish that our paint has, do like 5 drops of sealer after you shake it well, add a drop of water, you should be fine. I did brass, a really complicated brass on a creature caster model, but I haven't done copper yet or bronze. Maybe that's what I should do for the $10 tier, Trashorama. Yeah, definitely shake the sealer more. I've only ever heard of one person running into this, Chibi. But I did hear one person who is very reliable report that it did frost on them eventually, because they didn't really shake it. You got to look at the bottom of it when you shake it. If you see the glass beads still kind of sticking in the sludge at the bottom, you have not shaken it adequately. So like, there is my bead here. See it? See the bead? So when you shake this sucker, it's gonna, yeah, see, this has been shaken recently, so it fell out. So you know that there's only a thin film of matting agent down here, because that stuff is heavy and it will settle out. But since that bead sucked away from the bottom so quickly, I know that I've shaken this recently. It's pretty well in solution. I probably would do, shake it for like 5 seconds, 6 seconds, and it should be fine. Then if you look at it, you just kind of, can look at it. If you can see how you can see kind of the bubbles in the air on the bottom here. That's great, because then you can see there's no matting agent sticking to this. You're perfect. That's how you tell your brush on sealer is correctly mixed. You vote bronze? I have been wanting to do some bronze. There's something I have to do bronze on. What is it? There was some model. There was some model that I was like, this needs to be a really awesome dark bronze. Oh, it may have been a Games Workshop model. Should I actually paint one of those on stream? That'd be crazy. Insanity. But I do have a Golden Demon project, and I did get him out of the closet recently. It's one of the Stormcast guys, and I'm converting him. I pretty much like have the awesome like griff mount from the one character dude, but I didn't like the character dude, and so I'm subbing one of the dudes from the lizard guys because he's cooler. I wish there was a female model for that, but oh well. So yeah, I've got my Stormcast dude that I'm doing for Golden Demon. David already has like 3 Golden Demon entries done. I've got like 1/4 of one. Oh, you're safe, Reaper John. I only ever paint Reaper on the Reaper stream. So up here on this part, we could go actually with a more muted shadow because the cups and the strap are actually opaque. We've painted them that way. So we could do that. And if I was going to do that, I would probably grab some cyan blue and mix a little bit of walnut with it just to give us a little bit of shading. This color, by the way, will give you something very close to Corporeal Shadow, but a bit darker and probably a little bluer. Corporeal Shadow is Aaron Hartwell, Corporea, doing an artist's black almost, where you mix blue and brown. Best way to make a natural shadow is to mix blue and brown. So let's do 2 drops of cyan. And she uses a different blue for hers, but cyan is one of the nicer blues that we have that I like, so I am more likely to build stuff with it because I don't want as gray of a color. Automatic and timed watering system. Well, I mean, I'm only going to get like 1 tree at first, Twisted Oma. We'll see if David tolerates the 1 tree. Although he has been buying me plants. Like, he bought me a poinsettia for Christmas that's still alive, although I wouldn't mind that one dying. But he bought me orchids, and I just got one of my orchids to reflower. And I'm about to repot the other and see if I kill it. Because repotting orchids is a dicey business. But, you still killed it. Yeah, what I found, Sephiroth, actually, the reason that I had a black thumb for many years was because I did not commit and make the plants, as Twisted Oma just pointed out, I did not make the plants a priority. Once I got into bonsai, I found that it was much easier to make the plants a priority in my life. Like, as far as I would keep my mind on it, right? I wouldn't just ignore it, forget it. And key to doing that is figuring out how you can remind yourself to do the simple daily chores. Like for me, I leave my plant mister just right out where I can see it when I walk down the hall in the morning, and I just grab it and I mist my orchids then, right? So it's like any habit. It's kind of figure out. Let me show you the color that I mixed. It's really dark. It's really dark, but it's kind of a blue-black. You can see it there. So this is a painter, what we'll call painter's black. I like to call it painter's black. Mixing a brown and a blue gives you something that's really close to black. And because the cyan has such a strong load of blue, it's kind of a bluish gray at this point. Good day, Dogfather. Bonsai. You have to feed and grow and slowly sculpt over time. John, that would be awesome. Let's do that. We'd need nanotech for it, though. Like, nanotech needs to catch up with 3D printing, and that would be its love child. The word vacation no longer exists because that's the time all the trees need to be repotted. That's really funny. When you've got that many trees, it would be like a weeks-long endeavor to repot. I mean, like I said, most I had was 8, and it was still like when repotting time was around. That was several days. We need a Bulbasaur. I still say we need nanotech to catch up. All right, so I'm going to actually thin this way down because I used 2 high coverage paints to make this black, quote-unquote, this shadow. And that means that it is really dark. And to put it over these delicate colors would really overwhelm them. So I'm going to throw a ton. And I mean, this thing's probably 1 to 2. It's probably 2 times the water and 1 time the paint. When you get to that point where you're thinning, you can add a little bit of medium to it or a little bit of sealer if you really want to make sure you don't get any rings. If you're bad at getting the paint off your brush, then you're going to want to add some brush on sealer to this. See this sucker? This is almost all water. Like, I only took 2 brushfuls of this over here, and then I filled it with water and a little bit of flow improver. So if I were to paint this onto a model where it could puddle, where it could like puddle like that, it would dry with the coffee ring effect, which you never want. So if you're not very good at unloading your brush and you tend to get puddles, definitely throw some like brush on sealer or matte medium into something like this so that it will keep you from your own issues. It'll protect you. Oh, that's cool to know. Thanks, Korniko. Makes excellent rocks. Yeah, I can see that. It's a really rough bark. It has good texture. Yeah, exactly, Sephiroku. If you keep them in places where you see them often, and like when I walk down the hall in the morning, we got a big window ahead of us that looks out on the redwood trees outside of our apartment, and the orchids are lined up. He bought me, once David realized that he could buy me an orchid and that I would totally love it because I love like the colors, and that it wouldn't like die after 5 days like an expensive bouquet, David was all about buying me more orchids. Yeah, rebloomed every year for her. Yeah, awesome, Twisted Oma. Yeah, if you're careful with them and you're good to them and you miss them and you make sure not to overwater them, which is like the counterintuitive thing. They come from a rainforest, but they actually like conditions to be a little drier. I'm not sure. Well, this one needs to be repotted because it was my first one and it was in a pot with 2 other plants, 2 other tropical plants. So it doesn't have enough room, I can tell. So it needs more. Hey, Jetta. It's cooperating so far. Let's see. Let's check our time. It's 10:15. Pretty soon I need to get up and stretch. It'll be the stretch reminder. Remember, every hour the stretch reminder. So what I'm doing is I'm very gently adding in this shadow on the underside here, guys. I can also use the thicker version of this color because remember these little the bands are going to be gold. Actually, I haven't filled them in appropriately yet, but I can also use the thicker version of this color if I want to line, like if I have to correct my lining. But see how darker that shadow is. See how dark it is. And I'm using really thin paint. But compared to how delicate the rest of this model is, see how that makes that look more solid than this wispy stuff. So that's the key with your shading. If you're working on a lot of transparent cloth, but you want some parts to be more opaque, use a more muted out, grayed out, darker shadow on the stuff that you want to really be solid. Yes. Yeah, whereas if you want it translucent, keep it really saturated like we have here on our magenta, and I'll be going more into that in a little bit. But right now I just want to get this more realistic shadows here on this this blue. And I'm using really thin paint and a really delicate touch. And I want to kind of bring this line back in here at the bottom of the bikini top. This is my super crazy brush, by the way. So I had left one of my paint boxes like off, like even out on the porch actually for months, and David, because we used it to set our pumpkins on top of for Halloween. I forgot to bring it in. And I realized there were brushes in it and I was like, oh no, I should probably look at these. One of them was a brand new Raphael 8408, and it has the unbelievable tip. Like, this is the unbelievable tip brush. I could do so many things with this. So yeah, and the cold weather appears to not have harmed it. Window above the kitchen sink. Yep. Yeah, I just do a little bit of, I have a little watering can. I just water them once a week, and then I spritz them. I spritz them with my plant mister. They seem to like that. One of them has air roots, lots of air roots, and the other one doesn't really. Although it may start once I get it into another, I think maybe a different species, but the one with air roots is reflowering right now and growing lots of new buds, and it's very happy, so that makes me happy. I had so many years where I had a black thumb, guys, that to be able to keep something like an orchid alive and have it be happy means a lot to me. I think my bonsai habit did help my overall black thumbness. I think I maybe went, from absolute black thumb, will kill the plant, don't care what it is, to maybe moderately okay with plants. All right, so a little bit of shadow on the underside of that band. See how dark that looks. I'm going to bring in a little bit more of my tropical blue to kind of blend that in a little. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is a ridiculous brush. This is just like what couldn't I do with this brush? It's just like I said, look at that. Look at that. Like it's micro. It's insane. Let's just say that. It's insane. All right, let's get this blue. Let's see here. That's good. That's good. I want a little bit more of a highlight on the upper parts. So I'll bring out this. I actually need some pure white so that if I really want a really high highlight, and if something is silk or satin or a shiny fabric, you do need to go up to near white on it. But yeah, this is an insane brush. This is Crazy Talk brush. This is why this is my new, almost favorite brand of brushes. They're really fighting. The Da Vinci and these guys are really fighting for my love right now because they're so good. Twisted Oma. See, I gave up in Texas because the wildlife was just, gonna eat my plants. I tried to have an herb garden outside in Texas. It doesn't work. There's just no way. The caterpillars and the other things, all the things that are like, oh, you're growing tasty herbs. We will gladly eat them all. I just gave up. I was sad. That's why I switched to bonsai, because I'm like, well, trees aren't really edible most of the time unless you have a problem with mites or something. I had a lot more success with that. Then it was just the heat that killed everything. You must have a better backyard environment. I did not have a great environment for bonsai where I was. Yeah, having plants by the sink. Well, our sink is more in the middle of our kitchen and living area, so because it's kind of on a little island thing. The kitchen is kind of a U shape. It's got a breakfast bar up on top, but we just keep David's lucky bamboo. David has 2 plants and I have 3. Technically if we share the poinsettia, I guess. He has plants outside too, though. But then again, I have herbs outside, so I guess we've probably got equal plantage. David is very bad at plants also, but so he has been smart and chosen plants that are very, very resilient, even to him. These plants are real troopers. Because he regularly forgets them. He would not have kept the orchids alive. Alright, so we're just going to pop a highlight up on these upper parts. Make the blue come up really pale at the very top. If you want to say that it is a more shiny fabric, this is something you must do. Otherwise, it is not going to look shiny. Yeah, here at least we could keep the herb garden pretty well. We were using our, we're regularly using our basil and our oregano and our rosemary. There we go. So a little bit of, just a little bit of a line highlight on the edge of here. But since this is a rounded area here, I really should round it out a little bit. If you're highlighting a rounded area, make your highlights rounded. Do not just do a line. Though you can do a dot or a little tiny stripe at the end when you've got your pure white. Just to kind of hit that spot highlight. But like that. And now notice how sharp and clean that is. We've got lining on top. We added a darker shadow on the bottom and darker shading underneath. And so now it's looking very crisp, very clean. On the edge of a prairie, huh, Declearman? I'm surprised you don't see coyotes. I even saw coyotes in Denton, and I think there are bobcats too. Maybe they just like to stay out of sight. Also on the other side, right under the hair, gonna bring up a highlight to make all this crisp up. And actually, I think I am going to mix up my rich leather and reinforce those lines, those stripes in my base for the gold color. Just because it's annoying me to see them sitting there blue. Oh, you hear them at night? Yeah. I was going to say, lots of coyotes in Texas. Yeah, I saw one on the way to Reaper once. Just standing in the ditch on the side of the road, just kind of looking at me. Yeah. Yep. Garden killers are the deer. Oh, yeah. I bet. Oh, hey, it's stretch time, I think. My back is starting to act up a little bit, guys. We're going to hold for a second. We're all going to get up and stretch. At least I'm going to get up and stretch. You guys can get up and stretch with me. If you have not stretched this morning, you need to stretch. Here, let me take my headphone out. Do a stretch over the head. And do a stretch behind my back. Ooh, Aspen Parkland. Pretty unimpressed by people. If I were wildlife, I would be unimpressed by people too, Shadow Raven. So I'm going to pull, for those wondering what my stretch is, it's taking this arm behind my back, grabbing it with this arm and pulling gently, just to kind of release the pressure across my shoulders. And you can usually feel it in your lower back if you're doing the stretch correctly. And then you want to stretch the other side, same way. Yep, gotta do your stretch. Gotta do your stretch, guys. Stretching is necessary for us miniature painters, okay? Then I'm going to do some arm circles. Arm circles back. Kind of press toward the back so that my shoulders unlock a little bit. Do kind of a head tilt back thing. All right. I think we're good. Yeah, I like red foxes. I was always a fox fan. We had foxes in Wisconsin where I grew up. I only ever saw one, though. And it was only barely. I saw the tail as it was dodging away from me through tall grass. Take a drink. Hydrate, right? Stretch, hydrate. And we're good. All right, we can resume. Oh, nice. Yeah, I love hawks. I love birds of prey. That's why painting the Sphinx like I am is gratifying. Alrighty. Need to shade the other side here. Again, we're using a muted gray, dark grayish color that we mixed out of blue with some walnut. And once again, you want to really seriously unload your brush. You don't want to have puddles. You want to seriously unload your brush till you can do a fine stroke. Perfect. It may take a while. You may get frustrated or, like, this is taking forever. But if I wanted to not have to unload my brush so much when using this really dark watery paint, I would just use a smaller brush. But I don't feel like using a smaller brush, so I'm going to pay for that decision by costing myself a bit of time and unloading. The advantage is that I probably won't need to reload my brush because I've got so much paint in it, it's going to be just fine. Could add a little bit of lining here. A little bit of shadow up the side. There we go. There's already a line on the underside. Good, good. All right. So now we're essentially crisping up this side. Yeah, I like wildlife. I don't see. I like seeing what they have out here are black squirrels. So we've got gray squirrels and black squirrels in the park across the street. I really like to see the black squirrels because it's something I never saw in Wisconsin or Texas. Oh, the cats are like, no way! Those are our chickens, or birds, or small things. Quit eating our hunting. Hey, foxes gotta eat too. Bring in a highlight, grab my midtone. I got a little bit too much shadow there probably, so I'll have to walk it back just a little. Grabbing my shadow color, which is tropical blue. It's a little bit transparent, so I'm just going to walk it past that shadow a little bit. Walk it over the top so that it's sharp and crisp. That's being okay. Yeah, stop playing with the feathered things that are our toys, right? Grab some of... Oh, I may have thinned that too much. Sometimes the propensity I have to thin everything to the 2-to-1 is a little bit counterproductive, like when I want to actually base coat over something. There. Yeah, my back feels better since the stretch. Good. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was going to do at least an hour today. I wasn't sure beyond that, but the stretch made me feel a bit better, so... I think the answer is just if you have like some back pain, it's really important to get yourself up to stretch. Or even if you don't have back pain yet because you're younger, but you sit in a computer chair all the time, especially now. David was talking about this yesterday with work from home. He has so much poorer habits because when he was able to go into the office, they had like convertible like standing desks. So he would regularly use a standing desk. Yeah, you have to keep it in Santa Fe. That was what my friend Rhea told me is like even big dogs are at risk because coyotes have started to hunt in packs out there and they will taunt a dog away from, its human to jump it. So you got to be careful. Yeah, right. See, I make a makeshift standing desk in the kitchen, but it's still not as good. But yeah, so yeah, we don't need to take care of the back. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your back misses it. Yep. Oh, I do have an exercise ball. I haven't blown it up because we're in such a small place that it seemed like we didn't have any good place for an exercise ball. But if I clear out part of my closet, maybe I can blow mine up. Sadly, our fitness centers are not open right now, so they have exercise balls, but I do the kneeling desk thing. All right, so I needed to put a little bit of a demarcation line there. Now let's try to get some gold on this. I can't feel bad for the hawk. I mean, hawks do prey on smaller birds, so the feeder just makes it a convenient spot. The thing I love around here, though, that I never ever had anywhere else that I lived is hummingbirds. There are 60 zillion hummingbirds. Little bit fewer now because there are fewer flowers for them to eat. But I did see one very angry hummingbird chasing another hummingbird far away from its flower patch. They are supposed to be very territorial little birds. And that mid-air battle was something to watch. When you've got two tiny hummingbirds that are super air, they're all over the place. It's very cool. Standing desks, I mean, really what I find, Dragon, is mixing it up. Like, I use standing desk when I'm writing, like I'm working on Patreon PDFs and stuff. I use the kneeling desk when I'm painting. I use a normal, chair when I'm doing, like, my novel writing. stuff or I'm doing computer gaming. I find that if I switch it up, that's the best thing for my back. The hard thing is when I have to do like an hour and a half or almost 2 hours in this chair, or any, like doing 2 hours standing, doing 2 hours, then the back is really starting to be unhappy. But if I switch it up regularly and I remember to stretch, that seems to improve my quality of life. All right, so we got those dark panels, which are going to be gold on the bra. Hello, young Monel. Monel? Right. Yeah. Or Moni. Sometimes I have a hard time when you have light. Moni. Young Moni. Or Money. I'm not sure. Young Money, maybe. Hey there. Oh, wow, green users. Really? I believe it. They are like, you, dog, you're going to eat my flowers. Get away. Oh, they fight like crazy. Yeah. Yeah, they really are really territorial. I mean, when it's just flowers and they don't understand, the humans are going to refill the feeders. They are not birds that naturally congregate together. I do love them to death. I thought about getting a hummingbird feeder, but I was afraid that, especially during the colder months, that I would just forget. And they do tend to, attract bees and things as well. So it's like, well, maybe I'll hold off. Like, maybe I should just plant some hummingbird friendly flowers in our little planters. And do it that way. Hummingbird warrior is very cool. Oh, that is so funny, Carrie Michael Cosby. So the birds have figured out that it is the humans who are feeding them. That's pretty smart for a tiny bird. I'm just trying to... I noticed I had some edges that I hadn't covered very well over here on the green. So we're working back and forth, working on the blue, now I'm over to the green. Mixing in a little bit of my Tianzia Jade to make a slightly darker color. I think I need to actually thicken up my Phantom Glow a little bit. It got a little thin. Ah, yeah, I could see that, Shadow. Is there a brand of feeder that you guys like that's the least pain in the butt to like refill and keep clean? Oh, that's cool, Carrie Michael. Yeah, I think I always see there's a big fat hummingbird that during the summer I saw always around our area, like outside of our window, eating the tiny gnats that were by the redwood tree. Because they need protein too, just a little bit. And apparently they eat micro insects for that. So I know that there's at least one hummingbird like right around here. And I suspect that there are more that I just haven't seen. But yeah, maybe the flowers are a better deal because I do love having flowers around. So having hummingbird friendly flowers would be cool. Get one with a glass bottle. Good. That's cool, green users. Yeah, if we get a yard, if we ever get a house out here, I'll want a bird bath or like a little bird fountain. Would really like a little bird fountain. For one that is shaped like a strawberry, big, could hold a bunch of food, is easy to clean, has lots of perches. Okay. Kagero, I do a whole bunch of different chairs at this point. Like, the kneeling chair is very ergonomic. My back is just really weak right now. So, it's like, I mean, no matter what, you shouldn't sit for too long in any given chair, no matter how ergonomic it is, right? Because you're not moving. It's always better to move periodically. I mean, I was feeling it at the hour mark, just before the hour mark, and then I stood up and stretched, and now I'm feeling much better. So the kneeling chair is something I was told was more ergonomic, and this is a lot better to paint in. Like when I was painting in a normal chair, like my arm would even go numb. Like it was bad. So I think that this kneeling chair, this David's old kneeling chair, is really low, and my desk is really high. So this is actually a pretty good height. Like if I prop my elbows up, the mini's at my eye level. But of course, for you guys, I need to hold it lower. So I would say this kneeling chair is really ergonomic and good. I do like it, but yeah, any chair, if I'm sitting in it for more than an hour. Yeah, it would really, like, because of the way my arm would rest or be out on the desk when I was sitting in that other chair, like it would actually start to go numb. That was when I was like, David, I'm going to get a kneeling chair like you use. It was just not good. Is Twitch twitching? Dang it. Oh, sorry. Raphael8408 is the brush who asked. Oh, hi, MPM. How did I do? Well, there's a whole episode on how I did this, actually. You probably should go back and look for it, PM Mandrakar. I'm sorry to say that. Explaining it is, explaining all of the like things that you should keep in mind when you're doing this is its whole episode. But in the short answer is painting it like it's skin, more or less, and then glazing the color of your choice over the top of it. But that's a really short answer and fraught with peril. So there are lots of things to keep in mind, but the very short answer is that I painted the legs as if they were skin down to the point where the cloth came away from them, and then I glazed. But I would recommend looking back at I think it's like almost like the first or second episode of this particular model. So if you look up, if you search on Reaper's YouTube for this item number 3767 or for Dancing Girl, you should get it. Maybe, I'm not sure if Justin uses her name, but one of the first episodes of her, I think after I did the skin, so maybe the second episode was when we did the transparent cloth. But there's a lot of different things, including like color choices and how they influence you and against your skin tone, and like, you know, the strategy of where the cloth is going to be translucent, the most translucent, stuff like that. And then the actual application of the thin layers of glaze to build it up. Yeah. So there's a lot to keep in mind with and different painters will also do different things with translucent cloth. Like PM, as I mentioned on when I was talking about this, like if you're going to do black stockings, I actually don't recommend glazing. I actually recommend just highlighting with your skin tone color and doing it that way. And then maybe a glaze of black over the end, at the end, but maybe not. Just because it's so hard to get black to glaze smoothly, you can run into some real issues that way, especially over very light skin tones. So yeah, you really, I mean, it is definitely a technique where glazing is a big use. And I think that with blue, especially, you have to glaze, because it's directly complementary to your skin tone in most cases. So if you try mixing the two, you're going to get gray. Oh noes. I'm sorry that Twitch is twitchy, guys. You were having numbness too, getting physical therapy for the shoulder? Yeah, it was shortly after that I started doing more PT exercises, Inara, so I feel you. Hey there, Varl. Yeah, sorry that Twitch is twitchy, everybody. Alright, where was I? Oh yeah, I was grabbing some of this and getting our teal a little bit more solid. I just kind of put one layer of our Phantom Glow up here just to try it out, because I wasn't sure that I wanted these areas to be green. I wasn't sure. Maybe I wanted a little bit more blue. Maybe up on that. And up on this bracelet, I'm still not sure. Like, I feel like my blue is pretty good, but I could probably move, if I was alternating areas, you know, 1, 2, 3, I could do blue up there, but maybe we'll just do the green. So we're just going to make this this color a little more solid now, since I've more or less committed to it. Boop. My razor tip does allow me to be very precise even when I'm going over base coats, and I do need a line around that gold medallion. Yeah, pads the edge of your painting tray. Yeah, Jennifer Haley used to use a painting pillow. She may still, to like rest her upper arms on when she was painting Crawley. So something like that. You do what you gotta do, but no matter what you do, it helps to stretch. I was able to paint while standing for a while. I cultivated that talent when I was working for Games Workshop. Because when you're working at the store, you have to make sure that you stand up and greet everybody who walked in. My boss was super annoyed at me. Because he was like, you have to stop painting to greet people. He's like, well, you have to stand up. And I'm like, okay. So I stood up and painted and greeted people. But I didn't stop painting. There. All right, so then essentially I did a lining around this little medallion because I didn't have it before. And for lining, I'm just going to use that. I'm using that shadow color I mixed up for the blue just because it's dark enough. So I don't need to really worry about it. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same color I used. Oh no, I got a speck. Grab some water. Scrub, 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 scrub. Scrub at the speck. Yeah. There we go. If you accidentally paint an area, but you're fast with your brush, you can take the speck off. Yeah, back in the day, Young Money for sure. I definitely had times where I just did not feel like painting, and I would take long breaks. But what I found is that if I check in with my hobby at least like once a week, that I don't run into that. There's a thing, and we find it happens with writing too, which is another thing I do, where if you don't check in with your work, it's very easy to fall out of interest with it. And it doesn't, mean that you wouldn't like to do it. It's just that, you let other things distract you. So if you really want to get back into painting, the way to do it is to sit down and work on your stuff. And then after a couple days of, we're sitting down for half an hour and working on your stuff, you'll start getting enthused for it again. And I've noticed this a lot with writing and with painting that, if I just sit down to play with stuff just for, a half an hour, a couple days in a row, then I'm going to start getting ideas and going to start getting excited about what I'm working on. It's a way to engage your creativity. So if you just ignore the hobby for a week and you stop engaging your creativity with painting, and maybe you move it into something else, like, like computer games or, or storytelling, other forms of storytelling, like your favorite TV show, you get sucked into that instead. So the only way you're going to get back is to start playing with your hobby again, and then you're going to get excited. And a lot of people go to conventions for this reason. Like they'll kind of be out of the hobby a little bit, but maybe they paid for ReaperCon tickets, and so they come to ReaperCon or Gen Con or Adepticon or whatever, and then after the con they're super excited to get back into their hobby. And it's just that they've checked into their hobby again. They've invested more creativity and more energy and creativity into it just by going to the convention. So it's an artificial thing. It's not like, you can choose not to have that happen. You just have to, sit down and do it. Say, a lot of times people fall into a slump if they're working on a project that they don't particularly like. I mean, the answer to that is just to put that project away and get something that you are excited about. No beauty mark on the shoulder. I'm not a big fan. I haven't ever done a beauty mark on a model. Yeah, I mean, just, checking in, even if it's just like digging a box of minis out of your closet. In my case, I have many boxes of minis in my closet, and just kind of looking through things. Just doing that can get you interested again. The other thing that can help is making, if you can, have a painting area set up so that all you have to do is sit down and mix up a color and paint. You don't have to clear something off. You don't have to look for your colors or your brush or whatever, right? So having even a tiny little area, or in my case, I used to keep a tray, just like one of those plastic lunch trays, and I would just keep my palette on it, my water, my usual brushes, and then it was easy to just grab that tray, shove stuff to the side, put the tray down, and I had my painting space. So that's another way you can enable yourself to, to keep in, because any barrier that you put between yourself and your hobby, it's going to work. It's going to make you less likely to engage with your hobby, because you need to do X and Y, or X, Y, and Z before you actually get to have fun, right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, War Shadow. Yeah, Crowley uses a tray. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You keep it on your shelf and then you pull it out. But at least then you can just pull it out and you have all of your basic stuff that you need. So all you need to do is mix up a color at that point. So yeah, the less barriers you put between yourself and your creativity, the better. And that's key in establishing a habit too. Like if you're trying to get in the habit of painting for half an hour a night, make sure that you have everything easily accessible where you can just either have an area set up and ready or have, a tray set aside with your basic stuff on it that you can just quickly clear off an area, sit down and start. So it pays. It pays if you want to work on your stuff regularly. And I always quote Jack London, or paraphrase anyway, because I don't know what the actual quote is, but it's something like, I don't wait for the muse to come, I just go out and I go after it with a club. I don't wait for inspiration to strike, I go after it with a club. That's the way all productive writers and artists are, is they understand that you don't just wait for yourself to feel like working on something. It's that if you regularly work on something, you always feel like it. So in my case, when I get into a writing habit, because I'm going through with my writing what you're going through with the painting right now, Young Money, where, because I want to be a professional novelist, I want to publish my novels. So I ran into a problem with my writing where I realized I was going to have to do a hefty rewrite on 3 chapters, and it totally killed my enthusiasm. So now it's been 10 days since I've really sat down to work on the book. So, the danger there is if I let that keep going, and if I didn't realize that, well, really the reason I don't want to work on my book isn't that I don't want to work on my book, it's that I'm seeing all this effort that I have to put in on this character's plot arc because I screwed it up the first time, right? So it's like, well, maybe it's like the synonym for that is, oh, I don't really like this model and the way it's going, right? A lot of us give ourselves some guilt. I kind of think David's got it right, though, my boyfriend, when he's just like, if I don't feel a model, I put it away. He's just going to put it in the case, let it sit, and he's not going to guilt himself about not working on it. If he's not interested in it, if he tried to make himself work on it, he wouldn't do it, right? He just wouldn't paint. So try not to throw a bunch of baggage into your miniature painting that way. Kind of do that. Kind of be like, you know what? If I don't feel like working on this model and that's why I'm not feeling like painting, I should just get a new project out. Even if that means, we unfortunately in this hobby, we tend to call it the shelf of shame, right? Everybody jokes about how big their shelf of shame is. But the bottom line is, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? Yeah, inspiration does tend to strike when you urgently need to do something else. And that is when you run into that's a real thing in Aura. Not just you. That's the way the brain tends to work. And the question that you ask yourself in that situation is, what's urgent and what's important? And making that distinction is how you do that. It's like, well, urgent, define urgent, but urgent is like, oh, well, somebody needs me to do this right now. But important is, this is important to my long-term happiness. In which case, important gets done first, and the urgent person gets told, yeah, I'll get to it in a little while. The fastest I can help you with this is an hour from now. Unless it's life and death, obviously, but a lot of stuff we treat as urgent is like all tied up with other people's expectations, and a lot of time we'll drop things to do things for other people, and we don't always have to do that. Not when it's something that's important to us that we're interrupting. I've gotten a lot better at saying no. And not feeling guilty about it. Oh, she at least put my mind at ease that I didn't have serious stuff. Like, obviously, I don't have a bulging disc or anything, Pendrake. My back is just inflamed. So she did a lot of joint manipulation to make sure I was okay, and some palpation at my lower back and spine to make sure that there weren't any real big pressure points that were like agony when she touched them. She advised icing, which I hadn't been doing before. And pretty much she just said that, my back was just still, out from the last back spasm, and I needed to treat it better. Like, I need to move, I need to stretch, I need to not sit in one place when it's past a certain point, that kind of thing. Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's true, but then you have to ask yourself about your planning, right? How'd you plan your day? You knew you had a doctor's appointment, so you could have started painting a little bit earlier, even if you didn't feel like it. In some ways this is self-undermining, right? Like we do that all the time. Like we're like I do it with my writing too. It's like, "Oh, well I should do it after dinner," knowing full well that there's going to be stuff that happens after dinner that's going to distract me from writing. So really I have to get serious with myself and not let myself do that. I need to be better at planning. I need to make room in my schedule, things like that. Same with my commission work. My commission work tends to lag behind the other things I do when I really need to make more time for it. So that's on me. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? You find time when you find time. And if you really want to find time, you prioritize. The thing I don't like is when people just feel guilty about prioritizing their hobby. You really shouldn't. Your hobbies are your peace of mind. Like, they're your detox. You shouldn't ever feel guilty about making time for them. I mean, other people make time religiously to watch their favorite TV show, so that you should not ever feel guilty about making time to paint. I'm going to stand up and stretch one more time, guys. Yeah, this is a very long, but I'm almost to the end, so I don't want to stop because we're really only like 7 or 8 minutes before we're done. I just need to massage my back a little bit and, straighten out my legs. Then we'll do a little more highlighting. We're highlighting the green right now. And I haven't brought a lot of dark in. Waving is threatening. Just talk to the cat. Yeah, waving is like shooing. I agree. Inara is cat speaker. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, food. That's what I've heard too. Inara knows her stuff. Listen to her. Oh. Yes, there we go. Exactly, Twistedoma. When your kids make it through because of your hobbies making you not kill them, that's a good thing. All right, let's just get down. Do one more little thingy. Well, but pawing isn't something like pawing is dogs more than cats, Pendrake. When a cat paws, it's usually with claws out. Make sure you're not mixing up your species communication protocols. When a dog wags its tail, it's friendly. It's usually friendly. When a cat wags its tail, it's mad. Yeah, I think my back is having issues, guys. So I think what I'm gonna do is we're almost there. I made it within 5 minutes. But John, I'm gonna ask you to look for a raid since my back is definitely like saying it is time to get up and out of this chair. Time to move about the cabin. Time to stop like painting minis temporarily. Oh yeah, cats think they're invisible.
Oh, there we go. My push to talk was a little weird, so I gotta
sorry, I
fix
missed
that.
you, John. I took you out of my ear. What was that? Go ahead.
I said my push to talk was a little weird, but I'm here now. But I think I have something already lined up, so just let me know when.
Yeah, well, let's just go. I'm going to just do my recap real quick. We talked about why you want to keep saturated shadows on areas that are translucent because light is passing through them. So you want to still have the color be vibrant, as opposed to like putting a darker, more grayed out shadow on things that are opaque, which gives them the illusion of solidity. And we're just generally mixing some highlights and some shadows for our blue and our green. And then doing some lining and general touch-ups. So there we go. There's my recap. Who are we rating?
We'll be rating a channel called Paul Pape Designs. He's a sculptor.
Oh, neat.
So he's a traditional sculptor, not
cool.
like clay
sculpting.
Yeah.
Like CNOT.
Yeah, like CNOT. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome.
So we'll be back later today with Luca at 3 p.m. Central on Reaper Minia's Twitch channel. Also, guys, don't forget that the classes for RVE are now live, so you guys can go over there and start scheduling your classes. There are 3 more that I have to add today, and that should be it leading up to the convention, or to the expo. So that should be good.
All right, cool guys. Thanks for coming by. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody. We'll see what happens. Oh, there it goes. It just updated. Yeah. Mhm.
You think God does like engineering stuff too.
Uh,
Like you build toys.
Paul Pape.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. See, let me flip the switch, and there we go. It's off.